Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Today we have an amazing guest, Ms. Lavinia Osbourne. Hi, Lavinia. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. I'm lavishing on the beach, as we've all been doing for the last 6 months, so it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Make sure you send some sun our way because we're not getting a lot at the present moment. Too much rain.
Well, you see, but the problem with me, you see, is I get sunburnt. I get like a lobster. Yeah. So
right.
Yeah. So it's just, but that eventually go brown.
Yes. from this color to red to brown. It's
exactly. And then so give me a bit of time, and I'll be basking.
Okay. Good to know.
So I know that you're a very busy lady. So I do appreciate you coming on the show today. And I know actually it's quite a while since we saw each other, because I know obviously your world's been kind of changed a little bit since with the COVID and everything like that. But I know that the guest is going to find out a little bit what you actually do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a surprise, a bit of a big reveal. But obviously, some people do know actually what Lavinia does, but maybe not everybody yet. Not the whole world.
Yeah, not yet. I haven't taken over the world yet.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
But never say never. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I suppose a very simple question is, what gets you up in the morning these days?
You know what? This is going to sound a little bit fluffy, but with the whole pandemic, life, just being healthy, and like where I live, there's lots of greenery outside, and like there's this tree that's just magnificent outside my window. And I'm an early bird. I like to get up around about 5 o'clock in the morning. And so sometimes, I glance, outside the window, and I just see the sun coming up amongst the greenery. And it really just gives me just a real purpose and fulfillment of just life. And I just think
like gratitude.
Right now, yeah, exactly. Gratitude and appreciation that, sight to see, ears to hear, a brain to be able to comprehend and appreciate, and a heart to appreciate. So that's what gets me up in the morning. Other things that get me up in the morning is my passion for what I do. I'm a very passionate person, and that passion comes across in the work that I do, and the purpose to why I do it, and the purpose it gives me as to why I do it. And then this is going to sound soppy, but I don't care. My nieces and my nephew, they definitely get me up in the morning, literally when they're here, but just their smiley faces just make me happy. No, I'm very big on family.
They jump on you, jump on top of you.
Well, the 2-year-old, I've got an 11-year-old niece, a 2-year-old niece, and an 8-year-old nephew. So 8-year-old nephew is just a complete boy. The 11-year-old niece, she's pre-teenager. But the 2-year-old, oh my God, she makes you feel like the most like royalty. She just makes you feel like the most important person in the world. So whenever she stays over, because she's young, she sleeps with me, and then the kids sleep downstairs. And in the morning, she just gives me the biggest hugs, and it's just like, oh my God. So yeah, they get me up in the morning, and just their faces and their essence. The next generation, I tell you, kids just inspire you. And so I do what I do to leave something, a legacy and inheritance for them. And not just financial, but just in action, purpose, and education as well.
That's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't want my two sons, who are 16 and 15, jumping all over me, because actually one of them is 6'2" now.
Oh, wow.
Will probably crush me. And he's only 15. Sure. He's only 15, he's 6'2", so that's something to look forward to. Anyway. No. So the interesting thing is, the first time we met actually was, and you mentioned royalty. I mean, I actually considered you royalty way before I met you over a year ago, when I was in a very famous place in Shoreditch, obviously seen as the tech centre of the world. No, sorry, brackets London, near Silicon Roundabout, and there was another gentleman that we were hanging out with, who is also a legendary storyteller and social media guru, Mr. Nazareth Barbosian.
Yes.
And we did this impromptu selfie, I remember.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like a rock star kind of thing. It was like I was with the kind of the glitterati kind of thing in the blockchain glitterati.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether to call you princess or queen or empress as you might, of the London blockchain women's scene.
Well, whatever you want to call me, as long as it's complimentary, which it is. But I just go by Lavinia. I'm quite a humble person, to be quite honest. I just do what I do, like I said, out of passion. And but yeah, I mean, with that being said, I will also say that Women in Blockchain Talks is an award-winning and #1 female-led blockchain educational networking event platform. So with that being said, you could call me the queen of the London blockchain scene, or empress or princess. So yeah, or just Lavinia.
No, but so I mean, maybe for the audience, could you explain a little bit about what you do? Because I mean, I've got the advantage. I do know a little bit what you do.
Yeah.
But for the uninitiated, the people that maybe aren't hanging out in Shoreditch in strange rooms with selfie phones, yeah.
Well, you got to have a bit of fun, right? The selfie poses are definitely fun, and it definitely breaks the ice as well.
It certainly did. Yeah, it certainly did. Yeah, I was going, what's going on here? Okay, just smile. You're in the selfie now. Yeah.
Which is probably why I'm here right now. Okay, so Women in Blockchain Talks is as stated, educational and networking platform. It's a monthly event that promotes mass adoption of blockchain. So, in order for people to adopt it on a mass platform or, in mass, then one needs to educate people about it. But what makes my platform different is that it's female-led, and it's called Blockchain Talks is because the people I have on the stage are women. Now, my platform is open to both genders because you cannot talk about inclusivity and diversity and then block men from attending a blockchain event. But with that being said, the data speaks for itself. There's not enough women in the blockchain arena. And some people will argue and say, well, maybe that's because women don't want to be there, but I don't believe that's the case. I just think that it's a new technology, blockchain. It's very innovative. A lot of people don't know about it, and what they do know about it is generally just a small portion of what blockchain is and the power of blockchain and its potential ultimately. And so it's about introducing individuals, particularly women, and minority ethnic minorities, to the world of emerging technologies, and letting them know in this world for them. And I do that by, one, having female speakers, female leaders, and these are women who are CEOs. They're not necessarily just CEOs, they're investors, they may be employees, and educators like myself. So a range, marketers, business developers, because, what people don't seem to appreciate about blockchain, yes, it's a technology and there are technologists, but there is also an industry being built and businesses being built using this technology. And therefore, we need business-minded individuals to come into the space to help the visionaries and the technologists implement and put forward their solutions. And some of these solutions are solutions that are going to impact the world, impact different social demographics, so that we can have a more fairer and a fairer world, basically, which is the essence of blockchain in a way. It's about decentralization to create disruption so that there is a more fairer playing field for all levels of people in society.
And it's, that's a big topic. I mean, thanks for the explanation, because I think for people who obviously are not maybe as technology au fait as myself, yourself, and myself, I'm still learning. Yeah.
We're all still learning.
But the obviously there's a lot of people talk about blockchain, but actually what does it really mean to the average person on the street, or what does it mean to people's lives? I suppose is that still, in your view, is that still being worked out? Is it still kind of early days? Or, I mean, how? Because I've heard various different explanations to me about how mature it is if you compare it to the internet. Yeah.
Well, you know what? The internet and blockchain are very different. They're different beasts in a way. And some people will say that, the internet had quicker mass adoption, and at this point in time, for the amount of time that blockchain's been around, we should be a lot further, and a lot more people should be using it. But you know what? I just kind of think that things evolve in the way that they're going to evolve. And I don't think it's about comparison. I think it's about, these are tools. Blockchain is a tool. And if it can help create a solution, then let's just utilize it. Let's focus on creating solutions rather than comparing it to the internet and stating if it's a failure or if it isn't, right? Because tortoise in the hare, everything runs at its own pace, right? And develops at its own pace. So with that being said, to answer your question, I think the fact that, when you talk about blockchain, one cannot not talk about fintech and finances. We have cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the most common and the most successful use case study of the blockchain. Yeah. But with that being said, there are many case studies and many success stories that just aren't as well known, because when it comes to things like Bitcoin, why did it become well known? Because it jumped from 2,000 or however much it was to, like, how much did it jump up to? It was past $10,000, wasn't it? It was like 12, 15. So of course,
well, bigger than that one, so it was 20,000, I think. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. So of course that's going to get a lot of attention. So how is it applicable to the everyday person today, right now? Well, the future of money is evolving. Money has been evolving and changing for the last 100 years. Before, our money used to be backed by sterling, which is why we have the British sterling. Sterling being silver, it's no longer backed by sterling, okay, or backed by gold. But the form of money didn't change, but the process of it so much, so to speak, has changed. And so now, we are moving to more digitalized forms of money. Now, digitalized forms of money is very different from cryptocurrencies. But with that being said, the bank has and is being disrupted by the different challenger banks and also cryptocurrency. And with that being said, a number of central banks are looking at creating or using stable coins, which is a form of cryptocurrency, to create CBDCs, which is central bank digital currencies. So if this is the way that the central banks are going, then that means the way we interact and the way that we use money is going to change. And we are not going to have any options about it. So when that happens, I think a lot of people have their head in the sand anyway in regards to money, generally, and money in its current form and what it's evolving to. And with that evolvement, what will happen is people will start to understand and start to realize the impact of blockchain. I
suppose does that go back to, I know that the blockchain talks platform, the education platform you created is one of the projects you're working on, or one of the. But I think there's also something else you've worked on, which I think is also incredibly valuable, which you were starting to touch on, which is this kind of thing about people not understanding, how to deal with money, how to manage money, how to be the master of money. Is that something that also I think you're working on that as well? Is that right?
Yes. So my background for the last 10 years has been as a financial wellbeing coach. And when I first started out, a lot of people was like, well, what's financial wellbeing?
Do you like press ups? We'd like.
I do. Well, I do press ups.
You put like a load of gold bars on your back.
Exactly. I've got a gold bar for my doorstopper, so I use that for my press ups. So that's my form of financial well-being, or my financial workout, so to speak. No, but no, in reality, financial well-being is ultimately your relationship. It's all about your relationship with money. How do you think about money? How do you feel about money? How do you interact about money? What do you say about money? What do you tell yourself about money? So that's where financial well-being, regards to relationship-wise, comes into. And it's also about mindset, mastery, management, and mission. What is your mission with money? And so in order to be able to be the master of your money, then you need to understand the landscape in which you are spending money, earning money, and using money. And if you take the time to understand the landscape, then you're able to see the changes that are happening, and therefore, take advantage of it, leverage it. Because, life is not a game, but there is a game to life, so to speak. and the same can be said with money, right? So if you understand that money is changing and that cryptocurrency is a part of that change, it's having a social impact on that change, and it's having an impact on how banks are looking at money, then you can leverage that understanding, that education, to put yourself in a better position, especially now that we are in a recession based on data, not just on sentiment, because there is different data out there that financiers and economists look at to say if we're in a recession or not. And officially, we are presently in a recession. And, who knows what the economy is going to look like in the next 6 months to a year. So it's about positioning yourself and being able to read the state of affairs, read the economic landscape. So with that being said, that is how I got into blockchain, because of my financial well-being background.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I was just trying to connect the dots there, was how did you, what was the trigger? So I suppose if you look back in your, you said 10 years ago, which is roughly when the last financial, tsunami hit us.
Exactly.
So was there some things that happened in your history that caused you to, I don't know, change direction or reevaluate what you were doing? What happened? I mean, I call it the peaks and valleys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a peak or you have a valley, and then you work out, I'm in the valley. I need to go a different, change direction to do something different. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like many people, 2008 was a pivotal year for me on a personal level and a financial level. I had invested in a number of various asset classes, and I didn't really protect myself because I didn't have much education around money. I just did what everybody else was doing, investing, like I said, in different assets, not gold at that time or commodities. And when the crash happened, I was unfortunately made redundant, and then it was quite challenging to look for a job. And so then everything that I'd worked hard for, and just to say, I come from a one-parent background. And so I was the first one to go to university, the first one to kind of work in the city, the first one to, kind of step out of a sort of bubble that my family
had. You're a trailblazer.
Yeah, I was a trailblazer for my family.
Right, here we go.
Yeah, the superwoman of my family.
There you go.
I don't really like that term superwoman, so I shouldn't have even said it because, it puts too much pressure on the individual. But with that being said, definitely a trailblazer, always been super ambitious. And so, yeah, and so my family used to call me, I used to be called the money bags of the family. And then it all changed because, this is the thing. When you are reliant on a job, when you define your finances and everything else on a job, and there's nothing wrong with the job, But when you do that, and then that job is taken away from you, and a lot of people are experiencing this right now, you lose your identity. Not only do you lose your income, but you lose your identity.
Right.
You start to question your own value and your own worth just as a standalone person. And so anyway, I was introduced to a financial educational company, and it started teaching me about what money is, how money works. And I was like, wow, how comes I don't know this information? I was really shocked. And, I've got a master's, I speak numerous languages. So, I'm not just a pretty face. I've got a brain. I've got a brain.
For those that are listening on audio, obviously you can't see how beautiful Lavinia is. But obviously, if you do join the YouTube version of this episode, then you will definitely see that.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say, Andrew. Blushing. But anyway, so yeah, with that being said, I would class myself as a highly educated and intellectual individual. So all these things I was learning, I was quite surprised that I didn't know about it before. And it really put a bee in my bonnet. Like, if I don't know this, and how many other people don't know it? Yeah. And so that's when I started my financial literacy coaching, consultancy, online business called Butterfly Wealth Creation. And, it was a hard slog, because when you've never done anything like that before, there's so many doubts and things you have to overcome as you're learning. But you know what? I'm so grateful, because now there's going to be a lot of people in that same situation who are going through that process. And I've been there. And I've had many successes, also failures, because, failure is just one step further, one step closer to success. And it also allows you to be able to understand, empathize with someone who's going through a situation, say, okay, I've been through that. This is what I did, Yeah. So going through all of that, and with any business, you have peaks and troughs. And I've had lots of peaks and troughs. But one thing for me that I'm so grateful for is that during this journey of mine, I was introduced to Bitcoin. But even though I was introduced to Bitcoin, no one ever showed me how to purchase Bitcoin. It was like they kept talking to me about it, but no one showed me how to do it. So one of the things that I do in my consultancy now is I show people how to purchase a crypto. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin, it could be Ethereum, because don't just talk about it, show people. But with that being said, that is not the essence of Women in Blockchain Talks. I would say that's more of an essence of my financial well-being, because again, it's about money, and you need to understand how money is evolving. Yeah,
and things like crypto are one asset class or form of money. Well, form of future money, you could say. Yeah,
exactly. So then, as I was being introduced or told about Bitcoin, I kept hearing blockchain. And then when I started, I then worked for a blockchain company. I learned a lot. When you're on the job, you learn a lot, you hear a lot, and from hearing, you learn. And one of the things that I noticed, that there wasn't a lot of women, and there wasn't a lot of women in CTO positions. It was more like admin, business developers, like marketing girls, so to speak. And I.
So what you're saying is you saw some potential biases in the hiring plan and the way that people were organised. Yeah?
Exactly, how genders which genders got certain jobs, so to speak, or what position they played in the company or for a company, so to speak.
Right.
And so after I left the blockchain company that I worked for, I decided that I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something in blockchain, because it added to what I was doing with the financial well-being. And I'm also really excited about blockchain and what it can do, the social impact. And I decided that I was going to, one of the lady, I questioned what could I bring? What value could I bring to the blockchain industry, the blockchain world? And someone said to me, Lavinia, you're a business person and you have a business mindset. I'm a technologist and I've started 2 businesses and they've failed. And I said, why did they fail? I said, because I knew how to do the back end, but I didn't know how to do the front end. and we need people like you who can help people start a business. And I was like, okay, I see that. And I thought, well, if I questioned my value in this space, then how many other, and I know about blockchain, how many other women and individuals question their abilities or what they can bring to the table, you know?
So what your mission, it sounds like you're trying to do is build a network of like-minded people and raise the bar on their knowledge and education so that they can equip themselves to do better in their lives. Is that what you're trying to do? Is that in but also this is, I suppose, this thing about the G&T sessions, right? So G&T is growth and technology gifted to people. Yeah. So you're helping people's growth path, right? But you're also helping it with their awareness of technology to a certain extent as well.
Exactly.
Which is great. So it's because I think it's a bit like the thing you said about the financial mastery a bit earlier. I agree with you that the how you understand, unless you work for a bank, right, or you work for a financial services company. How does a normal person, how do they find out how to invest money, how to, the whole financial management piece and financial mastery? Unless you go to an IFA or all those, there's a certain path of how you do that. Yeah. But there's not really anywhere. It's a go-to place to understand how you do it and what are the pros and cons, the decisions you need to make. How do you make them? What should you be looking at your different life stages and so on? It's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? There's not really anything in education. You don't come out of university unless you've done a financial services degree or a finance accountancy degree or something like that. How do you know what you've covered? In normal education, it's not really covered in any detail at all.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we're taught at school. We're taught how to earn money, but we're not taught how to manage money or how to even invest. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, make money.
Yeah. So to make money, not earn it, invest it and manage it. We're not taught any of those things. And so, there's two prongs to what I do. There's financial well-being, which led into crypto, which then led into blockchain. To me, blockchain, and this has been stated, blockchain is the future of works. So if it's the future of works, then when we have to find our place in it, we have to find a position in it. That's not to say that there won't be other careers, but there's going to be a huge amount of career options and career creation, job creation in this area. Yeah. So you don't need to be a technologist to be in blockchain. You just have to have skill sets that you're willing to transfer into this arena. But in order to be successful in this arena, you need to understand the arena, right? So it's about instilling confidence. And one of the things that, I have a program, which I'm not talking about on this call, but I have a program called Be Bold and Brave in Blockchain and Business, because you have to be bold and you have to be brave to take a position.
That's a lot of bees. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I do like my bees. I do like my bees. So, and then with regards to the financial well-being, that's just, ultimately, we're all going to earn in one way or another. So once we're earning, it's like, what do we do with it? Be it in blockchain, be it in a job, be it in another industry, it's just about having a better relationship with your money. So they're two separate things, but they align with each other.
So for anybody that wanted to learn more about the kind of the financial mastery side, I mean, obviously at the end of this episode, you're going to explain how to get hold of you. But what were there any particular people that you held up in high esteem that you think are also go-to people to learn about as well in that area on financial mastery?
Yeah, there's a lady I really like called Sue Stone. I mean, you've got the Dave Ramsey's. He has a great podcast and he's well-known, American guy. Here in the UK, I mean, I read Money Week, but this is the thing. You have to be self-motivated to want to teach yourself or want to, most people want to be led. And going back to what you were saying, Andrew, unless you are at an income bracket where you can afford or even more importantly, an IFA will take you on as a client. Because the services that IFAs offer, they can offer it to anybody at any income level. But, IFAs are there just like anyone else to make money. And so generally you have to have an income of 50,000 plus in order to afford an IFA. So if you don't earn that level of money, then you don't get the help, and the banks are not there anymore to give advice. So again, like you said, where do you learn? Who teaches you?
So if you're even unbanked or underbanked,
right,
then it's even more of an issue or more of a gap.
Exactly. And this is where services like myself come in, but then also where blockchain comes in, because what blockchain is doing, like I touched on before, it's disrupting industries such as the finance industry. And one of the ways it's doing it is through tokenization. It's providing assets that wouldn't be available to individuals, and tokenizing those assets so it's more it's more available to the everyday person. But again, most of us don't know what we don't know. So how would you even know about that? How do you know how to invest? How do you know where to get started? How do you know where to start? So, like I said, there's two prongs: the financial well-being element and then the blockchain element. And one of the key things about Women in Blockchain Talks as well, which is very key and very pertinent, it is about diversity and inclusivity, because blockchain as a technology from the grassroots is about everybody, right? And most technologies and most corporate companies, they look a certain way. To me, for blockchain to really be successful and for it to have mass adoption, then everybody needs to be included, and it has to have people involved who look differently from each other, but those differences enhance each other rather than take away from each other.
So it's going to be like democratized, truly democratized, or truly giving access to everybody.
Well, that's the fundamentals of blockchain, isn't it? That's the principles, of blockchain. But ultimately,
because one of the things you said a bit earlier, you said about it's going to change the way people work. How you describe that? What does that mean? I mean, so let's say we're in a chain, yeah. How would that work? How would that work between me and you? What would be an example of that, about how that changes? Say I was a customer, you were a business partner, yeah. How would that work in the blockchain world? How is that different to what it is today? Any thoughts on that?
Okay, so my thoughts is that the process of a customer and a client will always remain the same. Okay, right. And we're talking about processes here, and I think there's just more transparency, because that's what blockchain is about. It's about trackability, traceability, and transparency. And so I think because there's more transparency, the relationships that one has with their clients will be one built more on trust, but it's trust that that there is a technology there that enhances the trust rather than I'm just trusting you, so to speak. And I think it gives a bit more responsibility to each to the individual, so the business owner and the customer, because in regards to trackability and traceability, I mean, let's look at the supply chain. Supply chain is a perfect example of, where blockchain is excelling. So you have, for example, the farmers would maybe be the clients, and the business owners would be the people who are buying the produce.
Yeah, the retailers or something like that would be buying produce.
Exactly. So I think there's more transparency. They know how much they're earning. They know exactly where it's going. They just have a bit more control, and they're more part of the process. And I think this is important. If we want to have a more socially good world, if I'm honest with you, rather than one that is full of corruption and backhanders and, just taking advantage of the little people. Now, when I talked about the future of work, what I was talking about really is that when LinkedIn did their research at the beginning of the year or end of last year, and they announced their findings earlier part of this year, It had said that a lot of the job creations are going to come from emerging tech, particularly blockchain. Now, a lot of those roles will be for technologists. But as I stated before, if that is the case, that means businesses being created. A technologist is not just going to create a product and it's going to sit there. The product still needs to be market. It still needs business development, and all of those elements. And then when you have a business, then you have people. So you still need someone in there who's going to look after the people. And so, again, if you have an idea of how blockchain works and the different case studies, then it positions you to better add value to that company, so to speak.
So, in terms of one case, I know that we've both got a bit of experience in financial services, where obviously you've got central banks and you've got central, banks, the retail banks, investment banks. So, because my understanding is obviously blockchain is going to decentralize that, where currently your mindset is that you have a bank account and you have a that's managed by the bank. Yeah. In the blockchain world, or the new world, the future of money world, how will that work in the future? How will it be different in your view? Have you got any view on that?
Well, I just think money is going to be, as we touched upon before, blockchain, trackable, traceable, and transparency. So with cash right now, right, it's issued by central banks. And how you spend your cash, unless someone's following the serial number on cash, no one really knows how you spend your cash.
Right.
Now, with digital money or CBDC, so central bank digital currency, then how you spend is going to be a lot more trackable, traceable, and transparent. Now, there's pros to that, and there's also cons to that. Okay, no one wants to feel like Big Brother can see what I'm doing, even though banks can see how you're spending your money. But if you take cash out, then they don't know what you do with that cash, right? Yeah. So in regards to decentralization, central banks are never going to give up their power, are they? That's just never going to happen.
That's what I was asking to see if you thought that was going to be the case.
Yeah, no, they're never going to give up their...
Everybody big power, pay the power.
Yeah, exactly. It's never going to happen. Banking is one of the oldest industries in the world, right? So... And there's so many different industries that's connected to the banking industry. If the banking industry gave up its power, I think the world would fall apart to a degree. But that's not to say we shouldn't have choice. And cryptocurrencies gives us a choice of how we spend our money, how we send our money, how we engage with our money, how we engage with others with our money, and that to me is quite important, to have that autonomy of how I choose to spend my money, and how quickly or the people who are receiving it without it costing them an arm and a leg to receive it, right? So
one of the things I noticed, you see, in the last few months, obviously last 6 months, and obviously even Warren Buffett, I think, has started to get involved in currency.
Yeah,
and he previously didn't believe in it, and you see, obviously gold, physical gold was seen as a kind of a very good, safe investment. And there's obviously been pretty economically proven to be a store of value. And then obviously, as we've seen in this year, that actually good old certain types of cryptocurrency have also maybe took a dive. And then maybe recovered quite amazingly as well, and have now, as we talked about a bit earlier, they've continued to go that way, not that way. So, what do you think? There's something happening here? There's people's level of awareness and people's level of education in these areas is suddenly starting to realise that they don't have to have all their money or all their investments or assets in certain types of class of asset, but they can diversify into these other types of asset and still see growth. Is that what you're seeing?
I would definitely agree with that. as you touched upon, crypto is just another form of an asset class, and commodities is another form of asset class, as well as property. And, in every market, I talked about it being a recession, but just because it's recession doesn't mean people aren't winning. There's many people who win in a recession because they know how to read the economy, they know how to read the environment and leverage it, right? Yeah. And then also, of course, they have the resources, or they know how to get the resources to leverage it. But with that being said, the great thing about crypto, again, which is a part of one of the principles and elements of blockchain, is that you don't have to buy a whole crypto like Bitcoin or Ethereum. You can buy a part. You can invest as much as you can afford, but at least you're part of the game. Because you know what? If you invest even, let's just say, £50, £100, and it goes up to a stupid amount of money, that means that bit of investment that you made is also going to go up. It might price you out of buying more, but at least you've got something in the game, you know, and you're part of the future of money. And I think that's so empowering. And this is one of the things that I do for some of my clients. I show them, this is why, again, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the talk by showing people how to, you know, set up a Coinbase account, purchase a small amount of crypto or, you know, be it Ethereum or Bitcoin. And I choose those simply because I like to show people coin market cap. These are the top currencies. So it's up to you, like, which ones you want to. Now that you know how to do it, this is where you can go to do your research, because I'm not a guru. I don't ever want to be classed as a guru. I will show you the way, but it's then for you to, you know, to take
your royalties. Your royalties. You don't lower yourself to be a guru. You're a royalty. So.
This is very true. So I dictate to you that you must go out and do your own research. that is what I dictate to you.
Tablets of Stone by Lavinia. Yeah.
So so that's what my thinking is on all of that. But I do think we still need the banks, because, you know, there's many people in the world who they need cash. You know, I can't see the world becoming totally cashless. Maybe in 50 years' time, when the younger generation that are now, who could get accustomed to a cashless society, are in their 50s. But right now, you know, there's many people who are reliant on cash. And I do think we still need the banks, but the banks shouldn't have as much power as they have had.
Yeah. Should have a minute's silence after that line. No, so that's interesting. So I think what you've done there is you've explained a bit about your G, because you've explained a bit about your backstory and some of the things that happened that allowed you to evolve to where you are today, which is really interesting. Yeah. On the T side, I suppose the thing I was quite fascinated was because you've got lots of what we call it, FLAs and TLAs. You've got lots of kind of 4-letter acronyms, 3-letter acronyms that you were throwing at me then, yeah. But you obviously sound like you know the tech side quite a bit now, although you do. I don't think so. In the T side of tech, so is it something you just picked up, or is it something you kind of like you were always interested in it? Were you a bit of a girl geek, or how did you get involved? You know, how did you get to this level of knowledge? Is it just been kind of like by osmosis, or is it just kind of happened over time? Or were you always kind of interested in it? I suppose I'm just trying to.
Yeah, no, sure. No, I understand the question. I would say no. I was scared of tech, to be quite honest. You know, what I did like growing up was science. And there's elements of science in tech. Well, you have STEM, don't you? Science, tech, engineering, and mathematics, right?
Yeah.
So, so science was more my things. Numbers just confused me and overwhelmed me. But with that being said, I just think the fundamentals and the principles of blockchain, it speaks to my inner core. And it speaks to my inner core because of the social impact of it, especially around finance. And so when you are interested in something, you take the time to learn, right? And I can't do what I do without being on the journey of learning myself. And the way that I see it is that, you know, blockchain is still quite new. It's evolving all the time. You know, that we have interoperability issues. We have scalability issues around blockchains. So there's brighter minds than you and I out there who are working on those interoperability challenges and scalability challenges. So,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You probably read the book, the Bitcoin Billionaires, about the Winklevoss twins, and how they went to create Gemini and stuff like that. I mean, it really shows for me about how hard it's been, and how people have been really, since, Satoshi, created the first
white paper,
the first part of the chain, and the white paper, but the regulatory struggle and the you could say the central government backlash towards it, but through I think lack of awareness or lack of understanding of how it could actually, to your point, it could bring actually a greater good. Because,
but no one likes change, do they? Unless they're in control, because of the control, decentralization and disruption. What does it do? It takes control away from the powers that be. So of course they're going to be against it. And like you said, I mean, JP Morgan said that they would fire their employees if they were dealing in it. And now JP Morgan has its own blockchain, which I think Consensus just bought.
That's right. Yeah.
So what a turnaround for the books. And then in addition to that, you just talked about Warren Buffett. He cursed cryptocurrency and gold, and now is investing in gold and is investing in crypto. So, at the end of the day, we're always going to have people who go against the grain, and we need those people. And right now, even though in our world, because this is the thing, in our world, it's not that big of a deal. But when we step outside of our world, many bright individuals that I know, they know nothing about. They've heard about Bitcoin, but they know nothing about blockchain. And so my opinion is that since we know about it and we see the potential of it and how it's going to change the world and how these elements, these entities are taking it on board now, it's our job. It is our job to share it to push it out there and to share it. And that's what I do with Women in Blockchain Talks. And I do it through storytelling, because storytelling is a great way of educating people without overwhelming them. And just to say as well, it's like, because I do know about this, I've invested in crypto for my nieces, like I was talking about them, my little heartbeats. So my 11-year-old niece, she's like, "Oh, Auntie, that crypto you told me about, how's it going?" She has an interest. She has an interest. She doesn't understand everything, but she has an understanding.
You're anti-crypto money bags.
Yeah, exactly. And I teach them about money. They know they've got a little trust fund from Auntie again, because it's not just about, this is the thing. If you can't change your financial situation for yourself, then do it for the next generation. A life insurance policy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the minimum that a parent or guardian can do for a child to just help them have a better footing in life than maybe what they have.
Pay it forward, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then with that being said, like I said, people still need to get jobs. So if I can help people understand that they have a place within blockchain, then that can help them maybe position themselves to get a job in the future so they can earn, so that they can invest in themselves and invest in the next generation.
So when just a quick question, when you said that the social impact, is that because, and the decentralization, is that because you believe that that because it empowers people to be not centrally controlled, it allows them to become more independent? Is that what you
100%. 100%. I mean, let me tell you, so my background is Caribbean. I'm British Caribbean. And right now, we hear a lot about blockchain here in Europe, in America, in Africa. And Africa, unlike the Caribbean, is very underbanked.
Yes.
Most people don't have banks. And this is the reason why Bitcoin cryptocurrencies has really taken off in Africa. It is a very quick way, peer-to-peer transfers, which recorded on the blockchain, to send Bitcoin to a family member in Africa. There's Bitcoin machines, they change that Bitcoin into money, right? They can cash it out. And then we hear about, crypto in different parts of Asia, particularly Singapore. But you don't really hear about it in the Caribbean. And the Caribbeans are like 30, 40 years behind when it comes to finances and technology. And right now, their main income source is generally tourism.
Right. Yeah.
And one of my...
being decimated, as you can imagine.
Right, exactly. With climate change and the way that the world is going, yes. And so this is one of the reasons why Barbados government has said, if businesses want to come over to Barbados and set up, especially since we're living in this virtual world now, where people are working from home, then they're going to give them a visa for a year so that they can bring more, activity to the economy, basically.
More business, yeah.
Right. So, but the thing is, and so they're looking for businesses that can fit into this new world that we're in, and one of those is, of course, technology-based businesses.
I think podcasts and blockchain talks definitely fit on a beach somewhere.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's not WFH or WFB. Working on a beach.
Look, I think you are already setting you're manifesting your reality.
I'm visualizing.
Exactly. So the point being is that, if we can bring innovations, or someone like me, and I know there's many people like me who are in blockchain, maybe they're already in the Caribbean, in Africa, in America. Because America, the US dollar, and the Caribbean are very kind of close, have very close economic ties and relationships. Then, if innovation centres can be created, then perhaps the future generation of individuals, of young people in that area, can also create or use the technology, particularly blockchain technology, to create businesses. So I'm talking about things like Medutech, right? So being able to put medical records on the blockchain. People move from islands to islands, but they don't actually bring their records with them.
Right.
And, the record keeping across the Caribbean could be improved, right? Same with educational records, right? And work records.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of scope, but there needs to be investment, and also regulation needs to come in place. And all of these things that are stopping, or not even stopping, but it's slowing, because I think if there's enough people wanting it, then it will happen. Momentum will build, and it will happen in regards to the implementation of the technology in these regions to create new businesses, not just businesses based on tourism.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you said Barbados. I mean, maybe you should give me a list of all the countries that you're aware of, and I can pick one. But,
well, Bahamas as well. Bahamas, I believe, and Barbados are offering the visas. So, yeah.
I also a bit of bees as well. So, actually, I heard Bali as well in Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
Also offering 2-year visas, actually.
Wow.
I heard that last week, actually. So, I'm actually just about to leave to go to the airport. But it does make you. Yeah, what you're saying is it makes you read these kind of enabling things that are happening.
Yeah.
Despite the kind of the things that have happened that have not been great in 2020. Actually, this is maybe the thing about resetting. People can actually recreate or reconstitute what they actually do going forward.
Right.
And I've talked to a lot of people where they stopped doing certain things, they continued it, but they started doing new things because it's made them rethink about what they're doing, what they're not doing.
Yeah.
So
and their purpose.
Yeah, and it's agreed. It's saying what you said about agreeing this reflection on what's been happening. Because the whole world has had to change, and it's like, what do you do with it in 2021 and going forward?
Yeah.
Although I did see an interesting Instagram post saying there was like 2 waves. There was like one wave which was 2020, and then there was the other wave which was 2021. The tsunami was getting bigger in 2021. So I don't know whether that's kind of like ride the wave in 2020, or maybe think about riding the bigger wave in 2021. So get your surfboard ready. Get your surfboard ready, Lavinia.
Well, whichever surf or whichever wave one wishes to surf, like I said, people find opportunities, the good, the bad, and the ugly in any circumstance, in any time. So I think it's just about being able to know how to ride the wave. If you know how to ride it, then you'll be better off than those who don't, right?
You got the right wax on it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Wax on, wax off.
Hey, so Lavinia, so one of the things I think we were going to talk about just then was about some of the, I know you've already talked a bit about this during the episode already, was some of the kind of pearls of wisdom, as I would call it. If people are embarking on and listening to this episode, from your experience working in the financial services industry, helping people with, on how to be financially well-being, in a good place, have financial well-being, and also the kind of tech stuff you've been learning. Is there some kind of examples of what you'd like to leave them with to think about and reflect on?
Okay, so one of the key things that I think is very important is communities. Some people are very good self-motivators, but most people need a community to work with, to collaborate, to converse. Everything starts with a conversation. And, I always say people don't know what they don't know. So when people don't know what they don't know, sometimes they come across an information. And if something aligns with you in regards to what you've heard here or something that you've read in a magazine, take the time to do the research to find out communities that align with the purpose that you are interested in. So, for example, we have Meetup. Meetup is a great place to research communities where you can find like-minded individuals. Mm-hmm. And once you are in, say, like a Meetup group or one sort of community, then you kind of get introduced to other communities. So I think it's really important to make sure that you take the time to educate yourself, because no one's really going to educate you. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be left behind in this, what was it, a tsunami? The racing waves.
Yeah.
I think the writing's on the wall in regards to technologies, emerging technologies. The writing's on the wall in regards to money and the way that is changing. So it's up to you to take the time to do the research, find communities that you can empower yourself. And maybe you don't want to work in blockchain, but maybe you just want to take advantage of the growing tech, the emerging tech, or businesses that are blockchain orientated. And then also, I think that people need to really start thinking about social impact more. I think COVID has given a lot of people time on their hand. And when you have time on your hands, you can think about life, your purpose in it, with a bit more clarity, I think. And it goes back to what you were saying, Andrew, about people reviewing the work that they do. Mm. And so in regards to social impact, like I've touched upon, blockchain really is aligned with that, because it's very much about giving power to the people, the grassroots, fundamental, sentimental principles of blockchain is about consensus of people coming together and sharing rather than hoarding. Mm-hmm. And so if there's something that you're interested in from a social impact perspective, then maybe look at what technologies are being used to help forward that cause. And then from there, you never know, you might think of a business idea that can add to that social impact or that cause around that social impact. So those are the things that I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you spot on. It's a bit like people's sense of worth. People were beavering away in their own little world, and then this whole thing happens, and it makes people really think about what's important.
Yeah, definitely.
So, to the point that people you spend time with and the communities you're involved in and actually what you do to give back. it's interesting to look at the different generations, the different, Generation Z, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Alpha. It's now the next one. Back to A again. What they're doing, they've been living, all these younger people have been living through all these the recession of what we talked about a bit earlier. They're now living through this COVID situation. It's going to have an effect on what they see as the world going forward. So, it's interesting. The Generation Y, they're looking like they're more entrepreneurial. They're more to the point you were saying about being brave and actually building your own business and not going down that normal route of going into a large corporate organization and going through the process that you go with that. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out in the next. And we're now in 2020, so who knows what's going to be happening in 2030.
I know. Well, I'm intrigued. I'm not going to lie. I'm excited as well. But I just want to say one thing. You'll hear a lot of entrepreneurs saying, "Oh, business, start your own business." But I also believe that working a job, working in a corporate, you learn so many skill sets. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to go in there looking to learn, not to just stay and just earn, so to speak. You could take that job as training ground for what you want to do. So you're learning on someone else's dime, but of course it is a win-win situation because you're giving your skill set and your time to the business and they're giving their training and their knowledge and expertise in a certain area. But ultimately, there's no reason why you can't have a job and do something on the side around this new emerging technology or a social impact issue that you feel strongly about. So you don't have to be one or the other. You can be multiple. So it's
your side gig, and then it becomes your main, your side hustle.
Yeah, your hustle, your side hustle, your side gig. Yeah,
ultimately, Gary V kind of style. Yeah, it's like hustle.
Yeah, not too much hustling, there's got to be well-being in all of that.
So in terms of actually getting to know more about what you do and to kind of contact you, what is the best way of finding Lavinia, Empress Lavinia, I'm going to call you now, EL, Empress Lavinia on the internet?
So the best way to find me is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Like Lavinia Osbourne, there's not many Lavinia Osbournes. You can also find Women in Blockchain Talks on Meetup. And I have a private Telegram group, but that's generally for people who, come to an event, like what they see, like what they hear, and then want to be part of the community. And the next upcoming Women in Blockchain Talks event is on Wednesday, the 23rd of September. It's going to be online, of course, because everything's virtual. And you can find out further information on the Meetup page. So, yes, and Andrew does have the website details to the Meetup page. So, yeah, that's how you can find out more about me and contact me.
So I believe there's a celebration. We're now on early September, and I believe it's a monumental month, isn't it? Is it something celebrated this month?
Yeah, it is. It's 1 year anniversary or 1 year official anniversary to Women in Blockchain Talks, because it's quite interesting. When I started, my meetups, I just knew that I wanted to do something in blockchain, as I stated. I wanted to add my essence, something. I didn't want to just walk away because I was no longer with the company, the blockchain company. And when I started, I just took over. It was like a women in blockchain group. I was like, what can I bring to the table? And that's when, like I said, a fellow blockchainer said to me, look, Lavinia, you've got business skills. And so, that's what you can bring to the table. But I still wasn't sure what I could do that would be different, that would make me stand out from the crowd, so to speak. And then, like I said, I just noticed that the data speaks for itself. So it was evident that there wasn't really, or I wasn't seeing who these trailblazers, female trailblazers were in blockchain. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to create a platform to showcase these leaders and these trailblazers. And that's how Women in Blockchain Talks was created. So the first official event was September last year at Rise, of all places, the home of fintech.
Oh, was it? Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the first one. And that's where I actually met Naz as well. So, and then, as you know, the rest is history. I mean, Naz did an event, we met you. So, yeah, so, you know, and this is the thing, it was a journey for me, how I found my place. But I found my place. I really have found my place in blockchain. And it's not for me about money, it's about passion and about purpose. And, you know, when I make money from it, you know, it's just a cherry on the cake. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations for doing what you've done already. I mean, it's a call credit. I mean, it's definitely a worthwhile mission. Because I think it just shows how there's a huge opportunity for a lot of people in the world, and I think the more you do of this, the more people are going to benefit from that. So, all power to you. So,
thank you. And I just want to say, you know, some of the highlights. A lot of people say, well, you know, what difference has it made? And I will tell you that, you know, and this is not, you know, men bashing or male bashing or anything like that, but a lot of people, including men, have said to me, when they come to my event, it just feels very nurturing. They feel like they're able to learn more about blockchain and the possibilities of blockchain because it's not ego-filled. It's not about, you know, my business and my project is bigger than yours, or, you know, this is what you should invest in, or this is what you should get involved in. It's really about humility and looking at blockchain from, you know, the grassroots lens, so to speak. And, you know, and it's really, and from it, lots of collaborations have happened. A lot of people have created things off the back of it. They've got mentorship from Women in Blockchain Talks. Some people have gone on to take a course, which they said they would never have done if they hadn't gone to Women in Blockchain Talks, because they just didn't know enough, or they just weren't confident enough. So, you know, I will humbly say that I know that the workshops and the events that I've run has made a difference to the people who've attended. And I feel like it's made a difference to the numbers, because the numbers have risen of more women coming into blockchain over the last year. So I do think, even if it's just 1%, I think I have helped make a difference to women, women coming into the industry.
My challenge to you now, a year from now, is it won't be in just one city, it'll be in 10 cities.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see what happens with the lockdown. If there's no lockdown, then yes, that will happen. But if it isn't, then we'll see. Because there are plans afoot, believe you me.
You see, well, you heard it here first on the G&T session.
Yes, you did.
Grand reveal. Well, no, hope the event goes really good on that. It's on the 23rd of September, somewhere, I presume, in London. Is that? Oh, it's a virtual event, isn't it? It's a virtual
it'll be a virtual event. It'll be online.
It's a global celebration. Hopefully, lots of champagne being drunk. And, so, thank you very much, Lavinia. That was Lavinia Osbourne. Women in Blockchain Tech Talks. Women in Blockchain Talks.
Women in Blockchain.
Yeah. And also the founder of Butterfly Wealth Creation. So, and I think that was a fantastic episode. So, thank you very much for coming on the show, and have a lovely day.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate sharing my thoughts, my views, and my purpose with your listeners. So, thank you, Andrew.
No problem. That was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Speak to you later. Bye bye.